It's virtual conference coverage at Geekazine.
All right, we're here with elk.live with Bjorn Ehlers. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
Ehlers, yes, that's right.
Awesome. And elk.live is this great system right here where you guys have been doing pretty much the impossible, and that is playing together in different locations. Now, why don't you tell us a little bit about what your role is at the company, and then, of course, what elk.live is all about?
Well, my name is Bjorn Ehlers, as you said. I am the CMO at Elk, and that means that I have the pleasure of talking to you here today. elk.live is, as you pointed out, it's a system that allows you to connect from different locations and play together like you're in the same room. It's a system that we've been working on for a while. It's built on a foundation of our core technology, which is the Elk Audio OS. So we started working on this a few years ago, but obviously once the pandemic hit, it really emphasized what we've been talking about so long, that there is a real need for a system like this. So the system is a one-part hardware and one-part software. Exactly, here it is. This is what we call the Elk Bridge. This is essentially the equivalent of an audio interface, but a very, very smart one that you connect to your internet router at home or wherever you want to be in your studio or anything like that. You connect it by Ethernet cable, and as you can see here, there's all kind of different connections for audio. And it basically functions then as a bridge. So it connects to each location. You have one of these devices, one of these bridges, and you connect to each other. And in parallel with that, you run a web app. It's a website where you have it's a kind of a, how should I put it, Zoom-like experience. But obviously the audio is in real time, so you can play together.
Okay. Now, you're saying, because there's two ways to actually play this. First of all, there's the way that a lot of us musicians have been trying it, where the first person starts the song and then everybody kind of follows along from there. But you're saying this is actual real time. So the drummer and the bass player are playing a riff, and if the bass player goes up, the drummer can kind of hear that and counter to that, and then of course the guitarist can play off of that. Correct? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, the reason why it hasn't been possible to do this before is, and a lot of people during this pandemic has tried with Zoom and FaceTime on all these platforms, and the reason why it doesn't work is obviously because of the latency. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would imagine that the latency that we're having now is around, 500 milliseconds, which is totally fine for a meeting like this when we take turns in speaking. But obviously, when you do music, you want to make noise and sound at the same time and in sync. And then, it's not possible to do with this high amount of latency. So with our system, we are, depending on the distance, but we cut it down so you're around 20 milliseconds. Top 20 milliseconds. And that means that you, as you point out, you can actually interact as you would in a real room, playing together. So it's real live interaction between musicians. So it's a completely different story than anything else.
Okay. So, and we're seeing video and audio here, but of course the penultimate is the audio and getting that audio across. So I'm assuming that is the video component there, or how does that work in the whole thing?
Point. You have a great point. The video, we have video there, but it's important to understand that the video is not in sync with the audio in our system. And the reason for that is that it is not possible to send video at the same speed as we can send audio. So the only way to make this real time is that you kind of lose the connection between the sync between audio and video. But the reason why we still have video in there is that we found that the main need for the video is actually before you start playing, that basic communication, discussing and agreeing on what song to play. And even though it's not in perfect sync, even while you're playing, it still gives you a big sense of presence of the other musicians. So it's kind of like playing live. You have the drummer behind you, you have the bass player somewhere next to you, but you don't really need that kind of close connection. So it works very well as it's not really a big issue. I know a lot of people feel that they need the visual, but when you start playing, it's just like playing in the same room together, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So the how many people you've done? What, 4 different musicians in different locations?
When the release will be, which is in Q4 this year, even though you can go and order your bridge now on pre-sale order now, the release of the system will be in Q4. But then there will be 5 people max in each session. But already next year, we will actually go up to 15, 20 people per session.
Wow, 15 to 20 people. That's crazy.
And we do that to get a little bit technical. I mean, the system is a hybrid of peer-to-peer and server-based technologies.
Okay.
So if you are a smaller ensemble, up to 4 or 5 people, you use peer-to-peer, meaning that you're sending your audio to each person in parallel and vice versa. So there is the audio is coming back and forth. That's by far the fastest way to send audio in between locations. The problem is, however, it eats a lot of bandwidth because you're sending your audio to each musician separately.
Yeah.
So obviously then you have the server-based version where everything sent to a central server where the audio then gets distributed. So it's a hybrid system that will switch between these kind of technologies to give the best possible experience for the user at that certain session.
Okay. The server, is that a server that you guys take care of, or is that a server that somebody like myself would actually set up to host people?
No. One of the main ideas of our system and feature is that this is plug and play. So there will be no setup, setting up your own server. That's taken care of.
Okay. Is there cost involved if you do one or the other or both?
No, there is a subscription fee that you pay for the service, and then everything else is covered, with that subscription.
Is that a subscription fee per musician or an overall subscription?
No, you have it per musician, per account.
Okay.
So all of that is taken care of.
Okay. So basically what happens is you get the hardware, you plug it in. Of course, is there like a requirement for internet speed or anything like that?
There is a requirement. In our testing, we found that you ideally you want to have an internet connection with an up and download speed of 10 megabit and a ping not higher than 10.
Okay.
But it's very individual. We have a lot of musicians that are using it right now that is in our beta program that has a slower connection. But that is kind of what we give as a benchmark for the best possible experience.
Okay. So let's see. There's a lot to bring in here, and the ability to soon, up to 5 musicians by quarter 4, and going up to 20 after that. That's just amazing. It's how are you defying the physics? I just gotta ask.
No, but I mean, the main thing here is that the internet we actually have is quite fast. It's powerful as it is. The main thing that we really need to take care of is the conversion that you have before, taking your audio and converting it to code, and obviously from code to audio on the other side. And with the bridge, as you showed earlier, that is basically where we can go below 1 millisecond to make that full conversion and preparing everything for the network. And then in combination with a lot of different techniques that we have. Here's the bridge again. In combination with a lot of different technologies we have to optimize everything. That really, but obviously there is a distance factor in it. There is, and the main cap of it is actually the speed of light.
Oh, right? Yeah. Like I said, the physics of things.
The physics. So there won't be, with our system, it's the fastest way to connect Sweden to Australia. But Sweden-Australia is still, the distance is still too great to be able to get that real-time connection.
Okay.
Right? So we have a recommendation on our website where it says there is 1,000 kilometers. Guess that's about 62 miles. Obviously, that's a very conservative recommendations. We have testers or musicians using it up to 2 or 3 times that distance. But it depends on kind of, what internet speed you have and also what kind of music and what kind of requirements you have as a musician.
Okay. Does this unit do any type of recording? So let's say you do drop out on internet and somebody's, or is this meant for recording or more just for doing the live aspect of things?
No, the thing is that I'm not sure it's going to be implemented at the point of release, but there is recording in the system being built in, right? So you can actually record your whole, in different stems, and also as a, with the full mix.
Okay, so if I'm getting ready to do a YouTube, I can have the person record, do the stream, and of course it can record, and then somebody with a DAW can come in and make the fixes and then send it out that way. That's awesome.
And we're even sometime next year, I hope we will also release the feature of streaming, because as we talked earlier, there is video in the system, and we will implement the feature of streaming next to that. You actually allow you to live stream not only audio but also video to YouTube or Facebook or whatever streaming platform of your choice. And the interesting thing there is that, as we discussed earlier, for the people for the musicians in the session, the audio video is not in sync. But for the passive audience, passive in the sense that they're not actually playing in the session, they will actually get the video and audio in sync. Like a full package. Basically, what you do is, in a very simple way of explaining it, is basically you add a little bit of latency on the audio for the video to catch up, and then you sync it in the cloud before it gets distributed to platform.
Okay.
And that's interesting because...
Oh, go ahead.
No, it's interesting then, because then you take kind of conceptually, you take this virtual rehearsing room and you make it into a virtual stage, right? Mm-hmm. So you can put on performances very simply on different locations, and basically letting people into your virtual rehearsing room.
Absolutely. Is there any other features that that elk.live is working on that we haven't talked about yet?
Well, we have one thing that's quite cool is that you also MIDI. You can also send MIDI remotely, which means that you can send MIDI one way and audio coming back. So you can actually play a remote instrument, which is kind of for some people are very excited about that.
Yeah, because the latency on MIDI is super low, and I've heard of many musicians that have done it that way to just jam with other musicians. Yeah.
And so there's a lot going on, but of course the main thing, especially in these days, with the still with quarantine and lockdown still big part of our daily life, is just to be able to reconnect with your band and keep on playing. That's the feedback we have from so many people that are contacting us, Yes, they kind of just longing for getting back to playing together again.
Yeah, absolutely. We did the virtual thing with my band. I ended up in my studio. I have the ability to actually put people in rooms. So we did that for a while. And then, and of course, then we got to play this year, which was great. But now they're talking about doing some sort of minimal lockdown, but still a lockdown, which can affect what musicians do. So being ready to convert for that and have something to play with, that would be awesome. Yeah. There. So you said it's in Q4. And do we have a price on this just yet?
Yes, there is a price point for getting the hardware. It's right now you can order it for €335. What is that in dollars? I guess that's around $400. That you can pre-order.
A little bit more, but yeah.
That you can pre-order the bridge, which is the yellow hardware that you showed, and then there is a subscription fee of I guess it's $20 monthly once released.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
No, I just want to say that on your note with the pandemic, everything. One interesting comment that we have from a lot of our musicians that are using the system now is that the lockdowns and everything, that COVID is a trigger for this. But the main feedback from many people is that, oh man, I wish I had this years ago. This is really something that people have been missing. Obviously, we're in a state of emergency, with the lockdowns and everything. But there is a real, basically giving musicians the same opportunities that all other trades have. being able to have work digitally and have I think that's the real exciting part for us.
Well, not only that, but now you can have musicians in different areas, and they can not only record for a live stream, but they can also record for an album. They can also record, they can have band practice at any time, because then you don't have to go to a location. Excuse me. You don't have to go to a location. You don't have to set up. You don't have to tear down. You can just right from your living room into somebody else's living room and keep up on the music that you're ready to play. So when you do go out and play on stage, you have that ability. Plus, we're seeing bands getting into virtual reality and going on Fortnite and playing and things like that. So stuff like this is going to keep us up to date on that too.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right. Well, lots of great stuff. We could probably talk for a long time about this. Bjorn, I appreciate this. elk.live, where do people go for more information?
elk.live is the official website. There they can find the technical information and also the information about how to order their Elk Bridge. Pre-order already today. All
right. And you can pre-order. It's still in beta though. So keep that in mind. But if you can get at least a 2-person back and forth going and playing, that's 100 times better than just playing to stem tracks or anything like that, which is what I've been doing all this during this pandemic. So, all right, Bjorn, thank you very much for elk.live. I appreciate that. We will we'll keep up to date and keep the audience up to date as to what's going on with elk.live when it becomes released and everything like that. So once again, thanks a lot, Bjorn.
Well, thank you.
Thanks a lot for watching this interview. We got a lot more over at Geekazine.com or YouTube.com/Geekazine. Go ahead, like, subscribe, comment, that bell notification to let you know when the next video comes in. Of course, you can follow all the socials. And until next time, you guys geek out and take care.